What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Hope you guys are having an amazing Saturday. In today's video, guys, we're gonna have a look at the new Fusion Champion. I'm currently on the test server. We're gonna see what exactly we can do with this champion. Now, I just kind of want to give you guys my take on the champion. I'm not the biggest fan. In a way or another, I actually think that Plarium is taking out the Mickey out of us, because it almost feels like a bad joke, right? Like the champion belongs somewhere in 2020 in terms of meta and all that. But it might be helpful for some of you guys. It might end up in being great maybe for Faction Wars hard mode. That's something that we don't know just yet. Either way, the fusion will start on Monday. We're going to talk about the build and everything else in a second. As you guys can probably notice, I haven't activated a blessing, so we're not gaining additional stats or anything like that on him just yet. With the A1, a double hitter, each hit transfers a random debuff from the champion to the target. If the champion is under debuffs, he will counterattack. Now, that is pretty hard to make it happen, regardless of what content you're doing. If you have a decent build team around him, you're not really going to have a lot of debuffs on, or you're not going to have any debuffs on. With the A2, AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown has a chance of placing a fear, decreased crit damage, and decreased crit rate on all enemies. You do not require accuracy if the enemy is under 2 or more debuffs already. In terms of PvE content, that is absolutely not a problem, because you can bring in a defense down, a weakened champion, job done. You don't need accuracy on him, which is actually a good thing. With the A3, finish them on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks an enemy. Will ignore 25% of the target's defense. Will ignore 50% of the target's defense instead if they are under 2 or more debuffs. And places a block damage buff on himself for 2 turns if he kills an enemy. It's a shame that this doesn't really work in the Chimera, for example. This block damage could be nice on the Ram form if it ends up in actually doing damage. With a passive, whenever an enemy resists a debuff attempt from this champion, the next one will be placed and it cannot be resisted, which once again means that we don't need accuracy on him. Each debuff placed by the champion will increase the HP by 3%, stacking up to 30%. So you're going to have the possibility to basically increase his HP by an additional 30%, which should be really nice. That means that he should be able to bring in some solid damage. I have him built on a Savage and a Stone Skin set because I do want to try him in PvP as well, considering that he needs to kill targets, etc., in order to kind of get a block damage, and it might turn out to be really, really good in there. So we're gonna see. Yes, he doesn't ignore Stone Skin, Strengthen, Shield, etc., but we might be able to make it work. Total stats on the champion: 107k HP, 256 speed, full crit rate, 274 crit damage. And as you guys can probably notice once again, the blessing is not activated, okay? I will give him a blessing in a second. I'm not gonna give him a relic. Masteries, that's what I have on the champion. Offense, support. I don't necessarily need to get extra accuracy, but having Master Hexer on him could potentially be pretty good, considering that he already counterattacks if he has debuffs, right? So it's not a necessity to get Retribution. But of course, as I've mentioned, getting those debuffs on is highly unlikely. Helm Smasher as tier 6. First, I want to quickly take him in the Dragon's Lair dungeon. We're going to go on stage 10. We're going to bring him in with Lydia. We're going to see what sort of damage we're going to get. And of course, what animations we have on the champion, because that's pretty important as well. Now, I'm not the biggest fan in terms of design, but he's not looking too bad either. So we have 2 debuffs on everybody. We don't require accuracy anymore. We're going to go with the AoE skill, right? So check this out. 114k, 110. So the damage is really underwhelming, okay? Look at the HP level left on the enemies. Considering that we have such decent stats on him, is a bit underwhelming. Yes, the crit damage is not the highest or anything like that, but we're gonna up that as well once we're gonna put a blessing. The animation is pretty standard. I don't think is a new animation. I think it's basically being reused from a different champion. So if we're gonna hit Deli Burga with the A3 skill, which should ignore 50% of the target's defense right now, we have a 207k hit. That feels really underwhelming as well versus waves, right? Like, if you're bringing in a different champion that ignores so much defense, even if he's an attack base, doesn't really matter because we're still going to give him a pretty good stats. He definitely smacks harder, whoever that champion might be. Like, if I'm bringing in Alika, the epic champion, she's going to absolutely destroy the target, okay, with her A2 skill, which ignores defense as well. So that's just something to kind of like keep in mind. If we're going to go with the basic skill as an idea as well, so let's attack, for example, Venus in here. We have 31k and we have 31k once again. So the damage is really not crazy. It's not impressive in terms of what he can actually do. So all of those skills, 804k damage. And he used all of his 3 skills, right? For example, if I'm going to do this, we have Magnar. Forget the empowerment. All that matters is that they have very similar stats, okay? I'm just quickly going to show you as an idea. So I'm only going to use one skill from Magnar, right? We use the A2 skill. If I'm going to back out of here, the total damage from Magnar is actually more than the champion's damage that used 3 skills instead of 1, okay? If I'm going to go back to the champions, I'm quickly going to put a blessing on him. So the best blessing for this champion, of course, is going to be Nourish, because... not Nourish, sorry. Nourish is the other one. It's going to be Nature's Wrath, sorry. This will actually give us additional damage for every debuff that we land. So we're going to give him this one, right? This will actually give him a bit of an extra advantage in a way or another. But Magnar has Haven Cast, which will make him deal exactly 3% more damage in this fight, okay? Now, total stats on Magnar, as you guys can probably notice, 105k HP, 306 crit damage, okay? They have a very similar amount of speed. Total stats on Ishiyama, we have 115k HP, 312 crit damage. So he has better stats, much higher HP, and slightly more crit damage, okay? If we're gonna head back into the Dragon Slayer Stage 10 hard mode, just to kind of like do a bit of a comparison once again. So we're gonna put that up and running. We're gonna use that. Bang, that's the damage. I'm gonna use the A3 on Magnar as well, just to kind of like get an idea. 100k, not as powerful as Izumaya's A3, of course. And let's go with the A1 versus Liburga. 34k, because we only had one hit in there, right? But the total damage from this comes to 966,000. If we're going to bring in the Fusion Champion, and I'm not going to use the lead because that will increase his stats even more. We're going to put the debuffs, or we're going to use the AoE skill. 141k was the highest hit I've seen right there. Right now, I'm going to go with the A3 versus the Venus. 420k. So now the damage is actually much, much better than on the previous try. And yes, the blessing will actually increase his damage by quite a bit. Plus the passive will start adding up, right? And now we go A1, 97, 70k. So the damage literally doubled on the A1 and the A3 after we added the blessing. So right now we have 1.2 million damage. So if you get him with the blessing, as you guys can probably notice, is actually much better than without the blessing. One thing that I quickly want to check again, and I'm only going to use the AoE skill for him and for Magnar, just to kind of like give you guys a bit of an idea. Magnar is an epic champion at the end of the day, right? We got a 200k hit right there, so the damage looks way better with the blessing than before. It's actually a bit shocking. We have 791k. I'm gonna do another 2 runs like this just quickly to see the total damage at the end. Then we're gonna bring in Magnar, right? Just in case if, let's just say, Helm Smasher doesn't proc, or it procs 782k. Then we're gonna try him in some different content as well, guys. If we're gonna do this once again, 174k. The debuffs are beautiful. You have the fear, you have the decreased crit rate and decreased crit damage. I think that can be really helpful, especially for faction wars. There are 3 debuffs on each target, 778k. If we're gonna bring Magnar the bad boy, yes, he does have a double hit on his A2, but that's not the point. The whole idea is the whole damage output. And considering that Magnar actually has slightly less stats, we have 753k, pretty similar, right, in terms of the AoE. Now, his A3 actually hit really hard after the blessing. From 200k, it went to 400k. 802, this is actually more than we got on Ishiyama. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, so apologies, guys. And the third hit, 682k. So this was no Ham Smasher proc 100%. But either way, their damage is very similar, right? And Magnar has less stats than the Fusion Champion. Plus, he's an epic champion, which definitely makes quite a bit of a difference. One thing that I do want to do is actually head into Hydra. So we're going to go on Brutal quickly here. I will go on Manual first, then we're going to do a quick battle one, just to kind of like show you the hits as well, because I feel like that's pretty important. I do have Feral in the team, but his main purpose in the team is basically to bring the block buffs. But hey, you're still going to get that extra from the passive. So you have 2 debuffs. You don't need accuracy on the champion. You're going to land all of these extra debuffs, which are actually pretty good. Decrease crit rate, decrease crit damage. Not the most impactful on the Hydra, but it can be pretty impactful on the Head of Rat, right? Because he does hit pretty hard. He does hit pretty hard. So having that on, I really don't think is a bad thing whatsoever. Let's put it back on 2x speed. We have Magnar going in with his first AoE, 884k damage at the moment. And we basically doubled the damage. A bit more than double the damage. 1.13. 1.1,330,000, sorry. Now, if we're going to go with Ishiyama, we already used the AoE actually before. So he kind of like took us to 800k damage. So Magnar dealt a bit of more damage in here with the skill. But now we start stacking up the passive. We start stacking up the blessing as well, which will make quite a bit of a difference. So the A3 skill, 488k on a non-decapitated head, which is definitely not bad, to be honest, but not that impressive. It really depends where you are in the game at the moment. Like, if you have some decent Hydra damage dealers, you're not going to basically use him in here over other damage dealers. But it could be better for the Chimera, as I mentioned, Faction Wars, and of course, maybe even for Arena. But we're going to get to that part in a second. I quickly want to decapitate a head, just to do a bit of damage with him. Then I'm going to do a full auto team. I basically want to see if we decapitate the heads, what sort of damage we're going to get on there, right? So let's try to get this one head down. So AoE attack again, 189k. We really got to get this head down before the cleanse happens, but seems like we were not fast enough, unfortunately. So let's put that provoke one more time. Let's put a block buffs. Defense down. Yes, we're gonna attempt to, but we're gonna wait for it, and we're gonna do it after because we got feared. Let's put a veil on. Finish them. 428k. No defense down, no weaken. Keep in mind, my Great Hall for the Hydra is maxed, guys, so that will give them some additional stats. Plus, of course, I have the ignore defense max too, which makes quite a bit of a difference. 472 with Magnar right there. Let's put this as well. We have the decreased accuracy. I should try to kill at least one more head. Maybe the head of rat. Let's see if we can take that down. 138, 122k damage. Okay. I will apply the defense down and weaken now because we have a decapitated head. I want to try at least the A3 skill maybe versus the decapitated head. So let's see if we can take down the head of mischief slowly. There we go. Beautiful. And we have the AoE. So let's see the AoE versus the decapitated head. 875k, if I've seen that right. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Drop that thermometer. And we should have the A3 available in a second. And then I'm going to replace Venus with Lydia in here. So if I'm going to go with Magnar's AoE, right? Let's see. Around the same amount of damage, even on a non-decapitated head. So that feels pretty balanced in terms of their AoE skills, right? Let's see the A3. 1.6 million. Okay. I was expecting to see a bit more, like a 2.5. But I guess that is somehow decent. So we have Ishiyama with 6.1, Magnar with 4.3. And yeah, he does deal more damage than Magnar. That's for sure. Now, if I'm actually going to drop her out of here and bring Lydia and do a quick battle, let's see what we're going to be able to pull off from here. I'm very curious to see kind of like how much of a difference. Okay, so it's almost like another half of the damage that Magnar deals on top of it. And that's mainly because of the passive and the blessing, which will actually add up more damage over time, which is actually good. 97 million damage, almost 100. To be honest, it's not too bad, but it's nothing special in terms of damage. We will go to Chimera as well in a second. First, let's go to Arena. So let's see what we can do in here with him. I will actually drop you out. I will bring you in, and I'm gonna bring in probably Krixia. Hopefully I'm faster. Just so I lock them, just in case if they decide to do... Okay, you got polymorphs, beautiful. Let's lock that warlord. Okay, so right now they only have one debuff on. That's fine. So that was the A1. Not enough damage in there. I'm actually curious. He counterattacked. Okay, we had one debuff. So any debuffs. It doesn't matter if there's one or two. For whatever reason, I thought that the counterattack needs two debuffs. But any debuff. So he counterattacks if he's under one debuff, which is great versus champions like Gizmek, for example. So right now, if we're going to go with the AoE, 88, 56. We got a weak hit versus the magic champion. We have a lot of magic champions, so that's one of the things that is not really working that good. Okay. And I kind of like really want to use that A3 skill, but we're going to use it most likely versus a different team because this one won't really allow us. 84k. The block damage is a nice touch on him, though. The block damage is a nice touch. This one right here seems like my type of team. So let's see. We don't need Sulfurian in here. We can keep Krixia, whatever, yeah. We can keep Krixia. She's gonna die, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so right now we can go with the AoE attack. We're not gonna land debuffs because we don't have accuracy. I mean, we're gonna land one because they're gonna get resisted most likely on the first one. But let's see if we do some decent damage. Okay, so we killed one of the enemies. 50% on Marichka, around 70% on Sifi. Odin is usually the squishy champion in here. So I don't necessarily think that the damage is great on the AoE. I feel like the AoE is actually pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you guys. But we're going to go with the A3 skill now, and we're going to see what we can do with that. So I'm going to try to take down that Sifi. So, bank. 86k, we got a block damage. One thing that I supposed to try was to see if I'm doing the A3 on Marichka and I'm killing her, the block damage will proc before Taras counterattacks or after. So now I'm very curious about that. So we're going to try that in a different team. Just A1. We're probably going to go with another AoE. Okay, fear, decrease crit rate, beautiful. We should get that A3 available in a second. Okay, fear procced again. Beautiful, beautiful. Not available just yet, but we can go with the A1 versus Marichka. 28k, 16k. Not that great. Not that great with the A1. I mean, Marichka might be tanky and all that, but I don't think she's that tanky to only deal like 30k damage. So let's see. A3 skill. We killed her. Okay, the block damage procs Taras counterattacks after. Beautiful. So that's actually a good thing. It's a shame that he doesn't have like an extra turn mechanic involved as well, because that would really, really make quite a difference, to be honest. Because, yes, he does have the block damage, but we still have to wait that extra turn for him to do something, right? So AoE attack. We killed Sifi 75k. Was I think 148 on Odin, but that was a polymorph there, and he is pretty squishy. Counterattack. 26 on Taras, and bang, 30k. So, in a long fight, we dealt good damage, but it's not like we one-shot any of the revivers, which is not that great in my opinion, right? Like, if you don't have enough firepower to at least one-shot one of the support champions, the damage dealers, I'm not feeling too excited about that part. Maybe an HP burn champion would have been good in here. A Sulfurion. If we cannot one-shot his copy right here, so we can actually go 8-3. 118k, we killed him. And he had no debuff, so we only ignored 25% of the target's defense with a skill. And now we can go with the AoE because we have the block damage. We're more safe, basically. Oh, damn. They've got their skills available already. How? No way they took 2 turns and stuff like that. What the heck happened there? Did they actually took 2 turns? So, AoE attack. Oh my god, we haven't killed nobody. Yeah, the AoE sucks big time. So, because of it, I really don't think he's gonna be very good in PvP. Even progression-wise, guys, keep in mind I have a very good build on him. So, just kind of like put it down to your own level. If you're progressing to tag team arena and stuff like that, with the gear that you might have available, he's really going to underperform, right? So, Magnar with the AoE is actually better. And he's an epic champion. That's my take on the champion in terms of PvP. Now, if we're going to go into the Chimera, where honestly, he's not really belonging in here whatsoever, I really don't think that he's going to do much in here either. So, I'm actually going to let it play on auto. I'm actually going to let it play on auto. And we're just going to watch it a bit. We're not going for trials. He's only bringing the fear that helps with the trials, which is not bad, but I'm just a bit more curious to see the actual damage, right? Okay, 299k, and I think that was the 8-3, yeah? So, I'm not feeling too confident with him being part of my Chimera team. 107k with the AoE, really, really weak. Really, really weak in here. Okay, 73k. So we have all of the debuffs. 60k, 79. I mean, Whisper, if you guys watch the video that I've made on Whisper, probably deals 5x. And I'm not even kidding you guys. Probably 5x the damage he deals versus the Chimera. 5x. 5x. Plus is a Void Epic champion. So, the numbers that you're seeing right here, even though we're stacking the passive or stacking the blessing, pretty solid build, is just not good, man. It's just not good. Look at that, 128k, like, I'm not trying to discourage any of you guys from doing the fusion. You do whatever you might think is good for your own account. I just don't personally think that the champion is good enough. Okay, he's meant to be a damage dealer. Plarium said he's meant to be a good arena champion. He's going to do good damage if you have good HP on him and crit damage. I don't think that is the case. I feel like he's really underwhelming comparing him with other damage dealers, okay? I might do the fusion. It's a fragment event, right? He might end up in being good as a CC for Faction Wars with the decreased crit rate, decreased crit damage. Might be good for the boss or something like that. Who knows? But I wouldn't use him anywhere else. Maybe in the Curse City, he could play an important role if he's part of any of the restriction teams for Synthrenos, for example, right? That was all for the video. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. I think that, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's kind of like a bit of a bad joke with the champion. I'm just not feeling him for 2025. He comes out with the need of a buff. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.